man, Ivan Thomas, Mr. DETV, and we're here at the DETV studios. And tonight, I have a wonderful opportunity to speak to a dear friend of mine about how he can help nonprofits raise money. So please, without further ado, I want you to meet Mark Duncan, the founder, the owner, the creator of Fun Coach. Fun Coach, what's happening, brother?
What's happening, Ivan? It's good to be here.
Oh, thank you for coming, man. Thank you. We had a conversation earlier about nonprofits raising money. Um, can you tell me or tell my audience, like, what are some of the problems that you ran across in your many years of nonprofits and the pursuit of funding?
Wow. So, I mean, there are many to choose from. Much has to do with, and I've always served in the role of being the head fundraiser, the vice president of development or chief development officer. And sometimes it was just convincing those around me, those close to the organization and leadership, to implement best practices
Hmm.
and also to focus on everything should lead to relationships, right?
Right.
So a lot of times we spend uh, time focusing on things like events and a whole myriad of other things that are kind of comfortable to do. The thing that people are most uncomfortable doing is actually asking people for money,
Hmm.
and but it is the most effective way to raise money. And so that's probably been the greatest challenge that I've experienced over the course of my 23 years in fundraising, 34 in the nonprofit space altogether.
So what would you say to a new nonprofit that's just starting out and needs to raise money for whatever reason?
So if they're brand new, the very first thing that they should do is be very, very selective about who they select on their board.
Wow.
Okay. This
Okay.
is this is really, really crucial.
Okay.
You are the founding board, right? And we often hear about, the three T's when it comes to board members: time, talent, and treasure.
Right.
I talk about three C's, right?
Okay.
They need to care about your mission.
Uh-huh.
They need to have capacity to give,
Right.
and they need to be connected. They need to be well connected. Those three things are crucial because your board, your initial board, really serves as an extension of you as the executive director, as an ambassador of your organization.
Okay.
So they need to be comfortable talking to folks in the community about the mission. They need to be comfortable introducing the executive director to other folks that have capacity,
Hmm.
so that they can begin to build relationships. So that's the first thing.
Okay.
The second thing is, to make sure that when you're thinking about fundraising, that you're looking at all areas. Many nonprofits will start, well, we need to do an event or we need to write grants, and those things are fine to do. But you also need to be thinking about relationships, and that's why having a board, the right board at the beginning, is important so that you can begin to have a robust program right at the outset.
Okay. All right. All right. I was just reading a comment. Um, um, Shuck, I don't want to butcher her name. She said, Miss Kent said, "Fun Coach is the real deal."
Sean,
Sean.
she's wonderful. She's actually one of my clients, and is really just an amazing woman who is doing some great stuff with her nonprofit. And I'm blanking right now, Sean. I'm going to ask you to drop the name of your nonprofit in the thread,
Okay.
so that everybody knows who you are and what you do. It's super important. She's very focused on making sure that kids have access to quality education, and she's doing a fantastic job doing that. It's a startup,
Hmm.
and it's right here in Delaware, and I would encourage you all to check it out.
Okay.
Um, please
You know
do
what?
that.
I would love to hear from Sean. How about that? I want to hear what Sean has to say about the Fun Coach. Sean, if you're willing to, Village Education Tutors Foundation,
Yes. Yes.
Sean, if you're willing to hop on real quick and tell me what your experience is as a nonprofit and how Mark helped you, I'm dying to hear it. Give me a thumbs up. I'll send you the link in your inbox, and you could just come on real quick and let us know. Now, Mark, what are your thoughts on grants and events to raise money for nonprofits? Because you know that's the first thing nonprofits come out the gate with is like, there's a bunch of grants out here. Let's go apply for them. What are your thoughts on that?
So my philosophy is pretty simple. Use grants to launch, use individual gifts to sustain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, I think the grants are important when you are beginning to, launch a nonprofit. It enables you to get some influx of cash initially, but it's not sustainable. You cannot count on grants to sustain your organization year after year after year.
Right.
Things change. They change without notice. With relationships, it's a little different. You see some of that coming. And if you're building a relationship with an individual, most of the time they don't have criteria. They don't have a proposal or an application you need to fill out. It's based on how close they are to your mission and how passionate they are, when it comes to giving. As far as events go, I think events are fine. I think what most nonprofits do, they make the mistake of treating events as isolated events, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, you do a golf tournament and you fill the field, you've got your sponsors, maybe you've netted, I don't know, $15,000, right?
Right.
It's about 6 months worth of work, but you've netted $15,000. And many folks will, have the event, celebrate their success, and wait for next year.
Right.
But what they're often doing is missing an opportunity during the event to connect with the people who came to play. So you may have a number of high net worth people who decided to play in your golf tournament, and you know who's coming because you take registrations ahead of time.
Right.
And so use that opportunity to work the room, right? I'm not saying that you should shake people down at the event and ask them for money. But what I am saying is walk the room, know who the folks are that have capacity, introduce yourself, thank them for coming, and then ask this simple question. Hey, do you think we could grab a cup of coffee at some time? I'd love to get together with you and talk to you more about our nonprofit. Right. Most of the time people say, yeah, absolutely. Give me a call. Right. Now, imagine if they did that with 25 people at that event that had high capacity. So not only did they net $15,000 as a result of doing the event, now they've got 25 warm leads to follow up on right after the event to begin to develop those relationships, right? And I always have this rule of 2 and 10, no sooner than 2 days after an event, no later than 10 days after an event, should they reach out and connect with them. So there's that finite window that you need to stick with. But events are great, but don't forget the opportunity that exists at the event. It's easy to get lost in the details of the event, make sure it goes well. It's another thing to overlook what's right in front of you and at a golf tournament for 5 or 6 hours and then let that pass. So that's a real important tip that I often share with folks.
I hear you a lot, and I'm going to bring Miss Kent in. I'm going to bring her right now. I hear you a lot talking about like relationship and caring. And Miss Kent, thank you for coming on. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm doing really well.
So tell me a little bit about, and Mark, I'm gonna hold that, put a pin in that. I'm gonna come back to you, Mark.
Yeah, please. Well, yeah, you need to hear this. This is good stuff.
Okay. The name of your nonprofit and what do you do here in Delaware?
Sure. So my name is Shaniqua Kent. I am the founder and executive director of Village Education Tutors Foundation. We are a curriculum-based I would say, academic coaching service that
Mhm.
provides tutoring services to youth in grades 5 through 12. And we do it with a social emotional support in place. And
Right.
so we are 100% virtual.
Okay.
And we use master degree certified teachers to do our instruction. So we have highly qualified teachers that are proficient in closing gaps as well as accelerating growth in our students. So we're excited to be a part of the community and supporting the community and, you know, just having a lot of fun doing that.
Awesome. Awesome. So tell me, you got to tell me about your experience with Mark. How did you run across this guy and what has he done
Oh
for your
man.
nonprofit?
So Mark is a staple in Delaware, and I would say that he's definitely known here in our space. And the thing that I think excites me about Mark is that he makes developing a sustainable fundraising plan easy. You
Hmm.
know, that's something that can be a lot, it can be intimidating, overwhelming, especially for solopreneurs, you know, in the
Yeah.
beginning. And I appreciate his thorough thought, his willingness to train board members. That is a key piece, you
He
know,
got
in the
mine.
equation. The executive director is
Yeah.
good at, you know, being a soundboard, but if you have a board that has influence as well as the knowledge and how to kind of solicit funds, that just makes it a little bit easier. So I would say if I had to think of one thing that really impresses me about Mark is that he's able to break down fundraising into I would say doses that you can actually understand. You know, he
Mhm.
makes it manageable and he helps you to develop a plan for rallying influencers around your mission, you know, what it is that you're trying to do. So great
Wow.
guy, very, very experienced. And I highly recommend him. He gets an A in my book.
There you go. There you go. There you
Wow.
go. Now drop your name
Thank
of
you,
your
Sean.
nonprofit and put your website in the comments because we're going to air this on Comcast channel 28 probably tomorrow or whenever. You know, I could do whatever I want. It's my channel.
And Sean, if you have a link for people to support you,
Yes, please put that in there
drop
as
that in
well.
there as well. We want to make sure that you have an opportunity for people to give to your mission, which is absolutely phenomenal. I'm a big fan of Sean's. She's
Awesome.
doing great work.
So put that in there. And Miss Sean, thank you again. Please forgive me for not saying your name correctly. I'm sorry about that. But look,
It's fine. So I'll help you. So you know how we say Kamala? I am Shaniqua, but they call me Sean for short. So I'll make it
Shaniqua,
easy for you.
there you go.
There you
Bam.
go.
There you go. Real easy. This is your main man, Big Eye. Make sure you check out her nonprofit doing amazing things virtually in the state of Delaware. We have to get behind our nonprofit, so make sure you support. I'm going to support, so I'm gonna ask you to support as well. So, Sean, stay in contact. Make sure you follow DETV, keep you up to date, and keep bringing people to your nonprofit because that's what we do. All right. Thank you so much, sister. Have a great night now.
Thank you, Sean.
No, Mark. Um, why do you think it scares nonprofits to ask for money?
Well, I think we tend to get caught up in our own personal relationship with money. I think
Okay.
that is a key
Hmm.
barrier, right? So if you know that an individual has the capacity, either because of history, or you just know that they can give your organization $25,000 if you do all the right things. And when it comes time to ask, there's this anxiety, right? That
Right.
that that comes up. And so we tend to get mired in our own perception of how that's going to go. And
Hmm.
sometimes we're so tied up in the fact that maybe we don't have that kind of capacity. And if somebody were to ask us, if for $25,000, that it's just uncomfortable.
Right.
And so, I urge people, first of all, people who have money, I don't care how much money they have. I don't care
Hmm.
if you're asking for 25,000, 100,000, $1 million. Every one of them goes to sleep at night, wakes up in the morning,
Hold on,
puts
Mark.
the pants
There you go.
on one leg at a time.
Right.
You know, and so they're all people, right? They're all people, and so once we sort of recognize that, and then stop thinking about us when we're asking, and think about our mission, and more importantly, the people you serve. So if you're a nonprofit leader, and I hope you're bouncing out of bed every morning thinking about the lives that you are impacting every day. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you're in education, social services, the arts, higher ed, healthcare. It doesn't matter. You should be bouncing out of bed,
Right.
thinking about how you're going to change lives.
Right.
And you need resources to do that. And so raising dollars is about the people that you serve. If you check my Facebook page out, the cover pages, it's not about the dollars. It's about what the dollars do for the people you serve.
There you go.
And the minute we hold on to that, the easier it will be to ask people for money.
Now,
and
if
when you
go, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, when you get that first gift,
right,
it's a little bit intoxicating. I would say that.
You're gonna catch on with it. Look, if
Absolutely.
you're just coming on tonight, it's Ivan Thomas of DETV talking to the Fund Coach, the nonprofit raising expert, about how to get funding for your nonprofit. It's not just a way to ask, but it's a relationship. And just hearing Mark break this down, it's an amazing. If you have a Q&A, a question, put it in the comments below. I'll bring it on. Mark, answer that. And then for more information to get to Mark, we'll get to that as well. Mark, just give me your website right now, so just in case someone's looking. But we want to make sure that we answer your questions about nonprofit fundraising. We understand that it may be hard. You may feel intimidated. You know, you want to do something great, but it takes resources to do this. And Mark is the genius behind how to ask, but keep it in a relationship type of way.
So you can, that sums it up beautifully. You can find my website at www.thefundcoach.com. You can find me on Facebook, The Fund Coach. You can find me on Instagram at Mark the Fund Coach. You can find me on Twitter at The Fund Coach. And of course on Facebook, Mark L. Duncan. I do actually do a lot of posting and I go live there and just share information on a regular basis. So, feel free to friend me there. I will certainly accept your friendship, particularly if you are a nonprofit, because I'm happy to provide some information that I hope will be helpful to you.
Awesome. Mark, Do More 24. I know you played a good part in that, right? And shout out to Spur Impact for doing that.
Yes.
In United Way. I think it was amazing. It was my first time. It was my first time doing it, and we raised, I want to say, maybe about $1,500. And $1,500 in TV goes a long, long way. Shout out to Hanifa Shabazz. I see you, lady. I see you. So Do More 24, huge success. Over $2 million, a world record for Do More 24. What should people do? What should nonprofits do after that?
So that's a fantastic question. And I too want to shout out Spur Impact and United Way. They took the lead on this, and it has evolved into something fantastic. And I am really excited about next year. And so a lot of nonprofits got new donors, people that don't know anything about the organization or never heard of them until Do More 24, and they were compelled to give. And so again, much like an event, right? Sometimes we just celebrate the victory and we move on.
Right.
And my advice to any of the nonprofits that participated in Do More 24, or if you get new donors at any time when you're doing online giving, that it's really, really important that you begin to take a look at those people who gave. See, first of all, run them past your board, right? Make sure that you're vetting those names. And we have 25 new donors. Who knows these folks, right? Because now you're trying to, again, go from the transactional to the relational. So if you have board members, or if you know who they are, then now you can begin to develop what I call an engagement strategy to begin to develop a relationship with them that could lead to a larger gift, right?
Right.
So my thing is, when people give, and this is not everybody, right? Some people who give online, $5, $10, they're giving, what they can do.
Right.
So there are some folks that'll do 50 or 100. And I think those are the folks that are sort of raising their hand and they're saying, I'm here, right? I'm here. I'm giving you $50. I want to see what you're going to do next. I am here. I want to learn more about your organization. So I'm going to send you a signal by giving you $50 or $100 or $250, right? Now, obviously, you're going to thank them, but then what, right?
Right.
Then it's time to look a little deeper, right? So now you vet that name with your board, and one of your board members says, yeah, I know that person. That person does have capacity. And then you begin to build the strategy, right? Board member can call, thank, that donor, and then say, we'd love to connect you with our executive director. Would you be open to having coffee? Sure. And now you begin the process of building that relationship.
This is a whole thing, man. Like I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you, right? And I'm listening to how it is literally another department of just fundraising, like for nonprofits that people need to be on, like on their dean every day. It is not, hey, I need $20, donate, I'll holler at you later, I'll see you later. It is the science of the ask, the science of the follow-up, the science of you really care, and the science of you can really prove what you're doing to retain and keep the relationship going for further funding. Am I correct?
Right. Absolutely. So there's a science and an art to this, right? So the science has to do with, following a series of steps. So when you are, there's something called moves management. Starts with identification, right? Qualification. I put that in the same level. Then discovery. That's when you begin to develop that relationship.
Right.
Cultivation, solicitation. That's the ask.
Right.
And stewardship. That's staying connected, right? And then there's the qualification part is about link, interest, and ability. So how strong is the link to your organization with that prospect? And it may just be that they know a board member. It may just be that maybe they were an alum, right? I work with a lot of camps, and there are folks that grew up going to camp at that camp, but haven't been in touch. All of a sudden they come back and they give. Pay attention to that.
Okay.
And then finally, after link, interest, is ability, their capacity. So that's sort of the science, right? So you identify based on that criteria, then you begin the engagement strategy of having that discovery visit. And that's where you meet and talk about your organization, but also you're learning about your donor. You want to try to find out what actually motivates them, right? Some of us are motivated by emotion, or I call heartstrings. Some of us are motivated cerebrally, which I call headstrings, right?
Right.
So you need to figure out where your donor falls so that you know what language to speak to them, right? Because you could be talking about all sorts of stuff that really tug on heartstrings, but this person's more motivated by, well, tell me about your financials. Tell me about your 5-year, strategic plan, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that, so you've got to pay attention to that so that you're speaking their language and getting them motivated to support you. And once you get through that discovery phase, you're cultivating them, getting them closer to your organization by giving them access, right, to maybe come for Ivan, for you, bringing people into the studio to watch, Good Morning Wilmington being taped live, right? That's a treat for people, right?
Yeah.
To be able to see that. So those are the kinds of things that you do to cultivate. And then finally, you get to the point where you're ready to ask. And by that time, you should know how much you're asking for, right? And what you're asking them to support. Right. And then, there's that whole process, and you have to be very specific when you ask. I always say to anybody I'm talking to about this, if you're asking somebody, well, you know, we hope you can support. Well, hoping somebody can support isn't going to get you the gift that you want.
That's what I
Right?
was going to say. Is it in the language of the ask as well?
Absolutely. You need to look them right in the eye, and you need to
Uh-huh.
be able to say, hey, Ivan, you know, I want to thank you so much for the time you've spent with me learning about our organization. As you know, we have a annual fund goal of $150,000.
Hmm.
And I would like to know if you would be able to support our annual fund with a gift of $5,000.
Right.
That's it. That's it. It's clear. It's direct. I say what the money's for, and I'm specific. And that is the most important thing, right? Because you're only going to, you get what you ask for,
There you
right?
go. That's
Um,
that's Bible right
and
there.
absolutely. And so if you're vague, right, or if you just say give what you can, or because we get timid, right?
Right.
When we do that, and it's no time. This is nonprofits are doing great work.
Yeah.
But when it
Yeah.
comes to this, right, when it comes to fundraising, when it comes to talking to people, they get timid, right? Don't be timid, right? Don't be timid about, you're not timid about your mission. You're not
Right.
timid about the lives that you're helping and impacting. So don't be timid when it comes to asking for resources that support that work, right? You have to do that. And so, that's the solicitation phase. And then once you get through that, then there's stewardship. And this is the part that people really mess up on.
Okay.
They say thank you, right? And then all of a sudden they go away. They're on to the next donor, right? And now that donor who you just got $5,000 from, 4 months go by, 5 months go by,
And then
a
they don't
year
hear
goes
from
by,
you.
and they
Right.
haven't heard from you until you're like, oh,
I need
it's
some more money.
time to ask them again, right? Do you think they're going to give you
No.
that $5,000? Absolutely not. And so stewardship is just another word for cultivation for the next gift, right? You're saying
Right.
thank you, right? You're bringing them closer to your organization still. You're keeping them, simple things, very simple things.
Right.
Sending somebody an email about something significant that happened at your organization, and maybe you have a photo or something to share. Hey, so this happened today, and I thought of you, wanted to share with you so that you knew. And so those little things, right? And an occasional coffee, right? Now imagine having coffee with somebody and not worrying about having to ask for money.
There you go.
Right? That's great, right? That's what this is all about. And so, so that's the science, right? The art, as it relates to everything that I've just described, is really real. Everybody's different. So while you're going to move them along that continuum, you have to do so in a way that is right for each person. So I talked about